Welcome to Waters of Memory. My name is Eric. I am a Reiki master, occultist, and shadow work coach. My job is to help you heal, embody your purpose, and live the life of your dreams. You can schedule a session with me or purchase my services at my website in the description. If you have any questions or would like to schedule a free consultation, you can do so through the contact form on my website. And if you like what I do here on YouTube, you can support me for as little as $5 a month over on Patreon. And I offer a range of benefits, including healings, attunements, and rites at the higher tiers. But for today's video, I love to see conversation about topics like this, so please go ahead and leave a comment down below with your thoughts. Leave a like if you liked it, subscribe if you haven't yet, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Fratello of the channel Stars and Wands made an excellent video on quantum jumping recently, and it inspired me to make one of my own. Now, I have avoided talking about quantum anything on this channel, not because I think that quantum mechanics can't be used to explain spiritual and magical phenomenon, and not because I think it isn't a fascinating topic unto itself, but because quantum is a favorite word among spiritual grifters, people whose only knowledge of quantum mechanics comes from what the bleep do we know, and people who have lost their minds. And there is an unfortunate overlap between all three groups. I figured it was for the best that I just not talk about it and not feed into the insanity. I've changed my mind because I think we're in the middle of a timeline split. And I think regardless of whether or not you entertain these ideas, they're going to come knocking at your door one way or another through your mundane experience. And I want to help people prepare themselves so that they can more adeptly move in the direction of the reality they want to live in. So when we're talking about timeline splits, in terms of quantum mechanics, there's far more than two timelines. But broadly speaking, I think that every possible future that can branch off from this present moment is going to flow into one of two streams. There's pro-human futures, and there's futures where the tech bros get what they want. And for those who don't want to go deep into the mechanics of quantum jumping or any kind of ritual magic visualization, I think that reality shifting happens far more commonly than most of us are aware of. And a great deal of it can be simplified down to making yourself compatible with some realities and incompatible with other realities. So in this context, that would mean to steer away from the reality where the tech bros get what they want. Stop doom scrolling. Or if you find yourself doom scrolling, catch yourself, break away from it, find a way to disengage emotionally, whether it means taking the piss out of something that was terrifying you, mocking it to the point that you can't take it seriously anymore. Clearing your head, going for a walk, find what works for you and make it a habit. For those who want to do more active visualization and ritual work, what you have to remember is that your shadow forms the floor as well as the ceiling of what you're able to accomplish through your work. So if you're trying to do this solely to escape something, if you are trying to run from yourself or run from pain, then you're very likely to get the monkey's paw version of the reality that you're trying to manifest for yourself. I think of celebrities who show no outward sign of distress, who suddenly break down. With this knowledge in mind, it makes me wonder if in some of these cases, there was a version of them that was living a normal, well-adjusted life that yearned for fame. And they yearned for it so strongly, they got it. But when their mind jumped into the reality where they had it, they couldn't handle it. They snapped immediately because they realized, yeah, I'm famous, but I'm not as rich as I thought I'd be. My friends aren't actually my friends. I've got paparazzi all over the place. I'm being exploited in dozens of different ways, and so on and so forth. So just trying to escape from current circumstances is not going to shift you in a positive direction. And in terms of shadow work, a popular exercise that Fratello went into is one where you go into a deep meditative state and you meet this alternate version of yourself. And you speak with them, you connect with them. There's different versions. Maybe you merge with them at the end of it. But one question you should ask yourself going into work like this is, will I be able to identify whether this is a version of me that is more integrated, more healed, more whole, and capable of holding on to what they have and carrying it into the future? Or am I going to encounter a version of me that is very much where I'm at, with my same issues, that would likely be exacerbated by having more money, by having more time, by having more resources, by having the things I want? And will you be able to spot that if that's what you end up connecting with? Because it's very easy to manifest miraculous results while changing very little of the foundation of what's under the surface. Take anyone who's won $100 million lottery and they're broke a year afterwards. If somebody's been broke their whole lives and they don't have impulse control, they don't understand taxation, they don't understand business or investment, and now suddenly they've got oodles and oodles of money to throw around, well, that's just going to become kerosene upon the fire of their own self-destruction. Unless they understand their deficits going in and make an effort to correct those from the moment that money is in their hands, then it's not going to work out well for them. And you can see this too in terms of Neville Goddard and law of assumption. I relate quantum jumping to law of assumption because when you understand that in all this talk about shifting into the version of yourself, of the job you want, of the people around you, like the version of them that you want in your life, that's going to involve timeline jumping if you're able to do it successfully. But there's people in the comment sections of some of the videos of these law of assumption coaches who say things like, yeah, my boyfriend cheated on me, but I'm envisioning this reality where that never happened, and he's amazed that I'm being so cool about this. Well, of course, this being the internet, I have no idea if that was a troll or not, but I've been on the internet long enough to realize that a lot of things that you think are trolls are in fact 100% sincere, and this is tragic if that's the case. Because I think that this person, if they are being sincere, is very unlikely that they actually manage to shift their reality. And if they do, they're going to end up shifting into a version of their relationship where they have suppressed their grief. And that will become part of the foundation going forward. And let's say whether they forget that the infidelity ever happened, or they legitimately shift to a version of reality where it didn't, well, that unaddressed grief is going to manifest itself somewhere along the way. There are no free rides in anything, not in the physical world and not in magic. There's always a cost, and that's not an evil thing. It's only a bad and overwhelming thing if you try to put it off and put it off and put it off until, like a debt where the interest has gotten out of control, there's no way for you to pay it without being completely destroyed in the process. So when you are orienting yourself toward any sort of reality shifting method, don't just focus on positive feelings or even disconnecting from what drags you down. There's a necessity to be in touch with your own feelings, to process your emotions as they arise, and to act with integrity, with your eyes fully open as you move in the direction of the world that you want to dwell in and embodying the self that you want to be. So don't bury your head in the sand on things, but find ways to have fun with it, because life isn't that serious. No matter how things turn out, life is not that serious. You can have a life lived with integrity, lived with principle, stand on business, stand up to injustice, and at the same time, laugh about it the whole way through. You just got to figure out what works for you, what enables you to be whole, what enables you to embody and express your soul as fully as you can as you navigate these most interesting waters. But the one thing you shouldn't do is allow yourself to get taken in by promises of absolute miracles, which turn into nothing but escapism. Because quite frankly, there's a lot of people who get into quantum jumping and Neville Goddard and law of assumption who need therapy, not esotericism. One thing to keep in mind with magic and with any method like this is that it's going to, whatever you're putting out there, is going to manifest by way of least resistance. And for people who just want an escape, the pathway of least resistance is not actually shifting reality. The pathway of least resistance is delusion. So if you can delude yourself into thinking that you've made a monumental shift when you've been standing in place, I mean, you're living in a kind of virtual reality at that point. And that's very much in line with what the tech bros want. The metaverse is not a VR headset. It's not the phone in your pocket. It's not the laptop on your desk. It's not the apps you use or the social media websites you scroll. The metaverse is something that's already escaped into the real world. And we tend to slip into it when we long for escape more than experience. And we're willing to be soothed at any cost in order to just not feel things and not have to face ourselves. The best way to enter the reality that you want, or at least a component of entering the reality that you want, is one where you're completely honest with yourself about who you are, the life you're living, the circumstances that you're in, and you're having fun with it. But for today's video, I love to see conversation about topics like this, so please go ahead and leave a comment down below with your thoughts. Leave a like if you liked it, subscribe if you haven't yet, and I'll see you guys on the next video.